Hey everyone, Muckluck here with a guide on the 6-stun TrapBeast build. This build got me to Platinum last season. It's a lot of fun, unique, and you can get some really easy kills from people not used to it. First, I'll go over the build itself for people who just want to dive right into it. Fools. What you can and cannot expect from the build, then go over the reasons for my choices, as well as some tips and tricks you can do, and if you want to skip ahead, the timestamps are down below. Let's get started. Now for the too long didn't read version of the build, we've got Skirmishing 332, Wilderness Survival 122, Soul Beast 333. For equipment, we're running Sword Warhorn with Agony Escape, Shortbow with Agony Courage, Rune of the Trapper, a must-have, Deadshot Amulet. Our pets are the Siamoth and the Alpine Wolf, and our abilities are Troll Unguent, Flame Trap, Sharpening Stone, Spike Trap, and Entangle. And I'll come back to this and explain the reasons why for each of these choices in just a moment. Against people who haven't seen it before, this build is capable of winning 1v1s against almost anyone, sometimes incredibly easily if you've pre-trapped. Against those that know what's coming, have a stun break, and have multiple condition cleanses, it can be much more challenging. A good, overpowered Weaver, for example, can be very tough. For talents, we're running Trapper's Expertise, a no-brainer for a trap build, a must-have, 60% more damage, cripple, and also reduce recharge. Hidden Barbs increase the bleeding damage you inflict. That is 5 of the skills on our skill bar, so another must-have. Light on your feet, a lot of people don't like this talent. I do because it doubles the damage of your shortbow skills if they are flanking or behind the target. Additionally, reduce recharge of skills, piercing, sometimes useful, and as of the most recent patch, it is procced by Shortbow 3, whereas previously it was only by dodge rolling. So each time you Shortbow 3, you gain a 10% damage increase buff for 4 seconds as well. In the Wilderness Survival line, we take Soften the Fall and Wilderness Knowledge, common talent picks for anyone running Troll Unguent. And in addition to that, we're running 2 other survival skills, so they are also buffed by those choices as well. Since Troll Unguent is going to proc Soften the Fall, it will actually cleanse 4 conditions because you are actually activating 2 separate survival skills when you click it instead of 1. Refined Toxins is not there for the damage. You'll notice that averages to about 100 damage per second. It's there for the reduced healing effectiveness. This can be procced by traps, so sometimes someone will hit one of your traps very far away from you and they will still get poisoned by this. However, it is completely viable to swap this out for either more flat condition damage across the board or for Shared Anguish to have another way of avoiding CC. In the final row, we're taking Unstoppable Union. This is required for the spec. Because we're running all traps, we need stun break somewhere. This gives us a stun break, and as of the most recent patch, also an immobilization break. In the second column, Predator's Cunning is a decent talent option. I've been running this. It really only affects your Shortbow 2 with this build, so if you get someone point blank with Poison Volley, it will proc this 5 times, doing 5 additional small unblockable hits and 5 small heals on you. Either of the other talents in the column can be taken. Essence of Speed doesn't really help because you don't have any quickness. Second Skin helps a lot if there's anyone else on your team throwing protection around. Finally, I take Oppressive Superiority for the 10% damage increase across the board, as long as your health is higher than theirs. The other viable option would be Eternal Bond, if you want just another oh crap button. We're taking Rune of the Trapper, a must-have for this build. It allows you to get 3 seconds of super speed and stealth when you drop a trap. With 2 traps, that gives us 2 more buttons to drop us into stealth and give us super speed, which is very helpful during a fight or just for traveling around, and the condition damage is not bad either. For Amulet, we're running Deadshot most of the time. You could easily swap this out for Wanderers to trade the Vitality for Toughness and vice versa, depending on the enemy's team comp. You're going to be in Shortbow 90% of the time. I like to run Agony and Sigil of Courage. You could easily swap these out for something else, perhaps Revocation if you fancy it. On the other weapon set, I've got Sword and Warhorn. I like to run Escape because I usually swap to those when I need to travel, and Agony just so that when I swap to those, the trap damage and Sharpening Stone damage doesn't have a huge fall off. For skills, we're running Spike Trap for the heavy damage and the crowd control, Flame Trap for the very fast damage, the 5 pulses, and the Rune of the Trapper, Sharpening Stone for the very high damage on a single skill that can be precast and used multiple times in a single fight, Entangle for the heavy damage, hits through walls, targets the entire area, and the condition cleanse and short cooldown, and Troll Unguent. I did once try a variation of this build with Healing Spring and Viper's Nest, giving us 4 traps, and Rune of the Trapper would proc that much more often. However, I had so much super speed that I would sometimes run out of my own Healing Spring when I used it while while moving before it even triggered on me, simply leaving it behind in the process without it helping me out. Additionally, Viper's Nest, though it is very good, simply paled in comparison to Sharpening Stone, whereas Viper's Nest, all 3 pulses, assuming they all hit a target, would do upwards of 9,000 damage. Sharpening Stone would do 18,000, and if you precast it before a fight, ran in, and used it a second time during the fight, which was very easy to use up, you would get upwards of 36,000 damage that they would have to cleanse off. For the pets, we're bringing the Siamoth because it brings 2 stuns, one with its brutal charge and one with the brutal charge you have access to while merged with it. Additionally, it has Unflinching Fortitude. If you've used your beast mode to get out of a stun and you need a second one, you can pop the Unflinching Fortitude to break an additional stun, as well as become immune to power damage for 4 seconds. The second pet, the Alpine Wolf, we picked for pretty much the same reasons. It has a stun with its brutal charge, as well as a second one when you are merged with it, and it also has access to Unflinching Fortitude. What this means is that no matter which pet you have out, if you pet swap pet attack, your pet will use its brutal charge to do a stun on the opponent, allowing you to do your stun combo chain, and no matter which pet you have out, you can use Unflinching Fortitude as a second stun break and emergency button at any time. One additional note is the Alpine Wolf's Crippling Leap ability. While merged with it, you can use this to travel quite a bit. It is not quite the same distance as the Owl's Swoop ability that is ever so popular, but it is almost as long. Now for some tips and tricks. Sharpening Stone applies a charge of itself on each attack, so if you use an ability with multiple attacks, such as Poison Volley, it will use multiple charges of the stone. For example, the one volley applied 5 bleeds and 7 poisons, both the poisons from itself and the poisons from our Refined Toxins talent, as well as using up 5 charges of the Sharpening Stone. Sharpening Stone works with Flame Trap in the same way. Flame Trap pulses up to 5 times, so it will use up to 5 pulses of the Sharpening Stone per target caught in the trap until all the charges are used up, for very heavy damage. Much like Flame Trap, Entangle works in the same way. It pulses 5 times per target in the area, so for each target in the area, it will consume charges of the Sharpening Stone every pulse. This one is possibly the most fun and least expected use of this build. If you are running from a target is the main time I use the following. Use Sharpening Stone, Call of the Wild to make some of your attacks unblockable, target the enemy, and use Hunter's Call as you're running away. It does not require line of sight, and every hit of the birds will apply a use of Sharpening Stone. Hunter's Call does 16 separate attacks and will consume the entire stone to put all 18,000 bleed damage on the target. And it applies them one by one by one by one by one by one very rapidly, so if they use their Condition Cleanse too early, they will still get hit with the majority of the damage afterward. Let's go over why I call this the 6 stun ranger. Spike Trap gives you a launch, Concussion Shot gives you a stun, your Alpine Wolf has Brutal Charge itself as well as a Brutal Charge when Beast Mode with it, and your Juvenile Siamoth has a Brutal Charge itself and a Brutal Charge when you Beast Mode with it. If chained all together, you can stun someone for 10 to 15 seconds if you play perfectly. But it is a bit of a challenge early on, because you're going to get your fingers tangled up more than once. With both of your pets having Brutal Charge on their own, you can't really control that. However, as long as you've waited at least 30 seconds since the last time you pet swap, anytime you pet swap and send your pet into attack, it's going to do its stun as the first or second ability. This even works while downed. You can stop someone who is trying to execute you, even if they have 1 charge or less of stability, using your Ranger Daze and also using pet swap pet attack so you force a stun from the pet at the same time. If your active pet had a pet stun available before the swap, you can do 2 knockdowns and a daze from your down state. Icing on the cake, your Throw Dirt additionally scales very well with the fact that you're condition damage. And if you had Sharpening Stone active when you went down, it will still be active for Throw Dirt, doing upwards of 2,000 to 3,000 damage per click of the 1 key while in the down state, possibly even while your pet is using Lick Wounds on you. So with 6 ways of CCing somebody, you've just got to find a way to get it started. One is by simply running forward, landing an Entangle or Concussion arrow, sending the pet into attack, following it up with a Spike Trap, merging with the pet, using the knockdown from him, swapping the pet, using his knockdown, and that's 5. If you want to use all 6 at once, which isn't really necessary, you would have to start with the merged Brutal Charge Otherwise, you would not be able to merge with the second pet for its merged brutal charge, unless it's the first and sixth stun you use. I've never had someone survive more than 5 stuns though, so just think of it as a spare in case you mess up. Now we've gone over the 6 stuns, let's talk immobilizes. You've got your shortbow 4, crippling shot. It's a cripple, but if it hits him in the side or the back, it's an immobilize. Additionally, you of course have the entangling roots, which immobilizes everything in the area. And lastly, something that people don't think of very much is mud. When you use your heal skill or take falling damage, don't count on the latter, just count on the heal skill doing it. You proc the Lesser Muddy Terrain because of the talent that you pick. The Lesser Muddy Terrain, the moment it spawns, it immobilizes everyone in the area, then continues to pulse, cripple, and slow. Getting slow on the enemy team, or even downstate people, is devastating to them. It is very, very much overload. Because our heal skill is over time, it's not necessarily a waste to use it when we're almost full health. If you find yourself in the middle of a team fight, even if your health is like 98%, consider using your Troll Unguent right then, just to drop the mud in the team fight. It can make the difference in a fight if you suddenly root everyone and you're consistently crippling and slowing them all so their actions take 50% longer. Essentially, it doesn't matter how you catch them first. You can open up with a concussion shot if you see an opportunity. Maybe they just walked into your trap and you were coming around the corner. Maybe you caught them in a root. It doesn't matter which one comes first, just start hitting them with one after another stun after that. Unless they've got more than one stun break, or they use a stun break and use a couple of dodge rolls away, you've probably got a kill on a 1v1 situation. Here's a clip where a teammate and I had been doing a 2v2 against a Scourge and an enemy Scrapper. Seeing the Scourge go down, I knew the Scrapper was going to try to res him, and I ran up and threw a spike trap down. He's now thrown up his barrier that will stop my concussion arrow, so I merge with the Alpine Wolf and do his brutal charge, going through both of them, interrupting both the siphon life from the Scourge as well as the res attempts from the Scrapper. The combined stuns and damage then down the Scrapper, and now there's 2 of them on the ground. In this clip, we see 2 enemies trying to run in and get a revive off their downed Guardian. I run in and drop a spike trap using the still standing people to knock down both them and finish off their friend on the ground using a spike trap. Although rare to get the opportunity, the spike trap can stun up to 5 people and puts its heavy bleed on every single one of them. You can trigger it using pets, minions, or mesmer illusions as well. Here I wanted to show an unexpected bonus of the build. You're capable of killing the Chieftain, Svanir, or the Lord of the enemy team when you're on the Foe Fire map with very little trouble. Simply use the Siamoth to tank it, get behind them, drop your traps, and unload on it with the shortbow. You'll be doing double damage the entire time that you're hitting them in the back, thanks to the light on your feet talent, and you can kill them very comfortably. Save your concussion shot, that's the shortbow 5, for if you see anybody coming so that they don't get a chance to steal it. In conclusion, this build is a blast to play. Anyone not running enough condition cleanses just dies when they hit the traps, and you still unload respectable damage from a distance with bow and sharpen. Do I think this build will shake up the meta? No, probably not above Gold 3 and Plat 1 without stability, but it was a blast playing it up until that point. I really did not want to play Sikkim Sniper. If you'd like to join us live or ask me any questions, I'm live on Twitch every night after 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can drop a follow with the link below to be notified when I go live, and if you like the video, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube for future guides and VODs. If you haven't played Guild Wars 2 and you're interested in trying it out, there is a link in the description to download the core game 100% for free, so be sure to give it a try. I'll see y'all next time, and happy trapping!